All right, let's bring in our panel right now. With us this week, we have former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, former vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel, and the professors of political science, Dr. Martin Sweet from Purdue and Dr. Laura Wilson from UIndy. Laura, it's kind of fascinating to watch all of the excitement over this new American Pope, but it's also led to a lot of discussions about his politics and how that may or may not lead to something of a clash on some issues between this country's president and its new American-born Pope.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't know how influential the Pope will be or how influential his politics are. I will say, if you look back at Pew Research a year ago, his predecessor, Pope Francis, had a 75% approval rating amongst American Catholics.
Even with many of his progressive views.
Exactly, and I think that is going to be important in terms of the influence, and also just to see, of course, where Pope Leo stands in terms of some of the political issues. We saw a very active and involved Pope in the last cycle. I don't know what we'll expect to see here.
Martin, besides a few voices on the far right, maybe, there were also a lot of conservatives voicing their excitement with this pick, including the president. What do you think that first meeting between the two of them will be like? And as an American Pope, just how big of a platform might this new Pope have here in the United States compared to other popes in the past?
Right. Well, we're really in uncharted waters here, right? And as far as an American Pope, I think President Trump will be very respectful. I think he will stay true to his own values. I don't think he'll be influenced by an American Pope per se. But I don't anticipate there to be any real strong conflict. I think they're sort of in their own lanes and will probably remain there.
Tony, how do you see that dynamic playing out, and what's the reaction so far, do you think, within the MAGA movement?
Well, I think staying in their own lanes is a good way to put it, and hopefully that's the way it will be. But it feels like folks and pundits and political people are already looking for conflict, digging up tweets and that sort of thing. I think they'll have a good relationship. President Trump's comments were right on target. I thought they were kind. They were appreciative of him being an American, the first American Pope, and he looks forward to meeting with him. So we'll see. I think the best thing for them to do is to talk, and the Pope will do that, hopefully with world leaders, throughout the world. But that's the best thing for them to do, is to communicate.
And speaking of tweets, so many tweets, we should mention so many great Chicago-themed memes already about this Chicago-born Pope. Robin, in the midst of this whole discussion about the new Pope is also a Hoosier, who we just heard from, former Senator Joe Donnelly, who served as the ambassador to the Vatican. He's been on national TV all week here talking about the new Pope, what all of this means for Catholics in the United States, and his hopes for the kind of leadership that the new Pope might provide.
Well, the senator obviously served as our ambassador to the Vatican and did an outstanding job and was very bipartisan in all of his activities. The Pope has over 1.4 billion people to be concerned about. So I think he's going to be a little bit busy taking care of that true flock and not worried about getting in the minutiae of national politics.
All right, back here at home, the governor has now signed the state budget into law. But Lauren, now the governor is also facing two lawsuits this week, both dealing with education. The ACLU suing him for the measure in the budget bill that gives him full control of IU's Board of Trustees, while Union Schools, that district, suing over the property tax bill that also gets rid of their entire district. An early clash here with educators for the new governor.
Yeah, and this is also a year, as we mentioned earlier, 0 vetoes. So when we were trying to estimate what would we expect from a Braun administration, okay, 0 vetoes from the legislature, but you do have these two lawsuits. The one with IU is particularly interesting because there's no consistency. This doesn't apply to Purdue, but it's also a different story in terms of Ball State and Indiana State. It just seems really specific in a way that I think is hard to understand. But in both cases, as you mentioned, we do see, it feels like a lot of tension between the new administration and both higher education and even K through 12.
And Martin, the budget that the governor just signed into law was significantly impacted by that late revenue forecast showing a potential shortfall of $2 billion, which both Democrats and the bipartisan forecasters themselves said was the result of some of the uncertainty over tariffs. How tough a balancing act is that for the governor and for Republican lawmakers here in the years ahead?
Well, effectively, we have, not exactly, but pretty close to a uniparty state. So I don't anticipate the sort of the relative strength of the Democratic Party to be particularly a problem for the governor. But he's got the reality of a budget, and how do you spend it, and what resources do you have, and how do you approach these things. I just want to add, though, on the education piece. IU was one of 9 Big Ten schools targeted by the administration for their effectively malfeasance during the protests against Israel and their involvement in Gaza. And so there actually is some reason of treating IU separately than Purdue.
Certainly another hot topic here in the news in recent months as well. Robin, what's your response to this lawsuit and everything the governor is involved with now here in his first
Well, he
year?
wouldn't veto an overwhelming supermajority of Republicans. I don't think that would ever happen. So that doesn't surprise
They
me.
can override it pretty
But I
easily.
think what they could have done on their alumni thing was have the alumni pull together a list of recommended people to have him select. That way you at least would have alumni representation. Maybe you don't put it out there in the political world, but there could have been a conduit for folks that are alums to be recommended. We do that on other boards and commissions. We do it at Louisville, where I went to school, they do the same thing. You could have a conduit for your alumni association to make recommendations.
We'll see how that all shakes out with the lawsuit going on, too. Tony, in the meantime, the governor attending that Lilly groundbreaking this week in the LEAP district. He faced some criticism on his right flank this week for being there, given some of the concerns he's voiced about the LEAP district and the IEDC in the past. Is that fair criticism?
Well, I don't think so. It's a huge investment by Lilly, and we're very proud to have Lilly headquartered here in Indiana and doing what they're doing to build a new medicine foundry there in Boone County, creating jobs, high-paying jobs for scientists and engineers. And he at the same time, he is shining a light on what the IEDC may have done wrong in the past.
Looking to audit them now.
Auditing them, and that's a big step. And he's looking to change the IEDC and put more of a focus on small businesses and higher paying jobs.
We got to leave it there. Up next, the former vice president shares his thoughts on the new pope while also receiving a prestigious honor. Stick around. We'll be right back after this.